Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's video we are doing another easy beginners drag queen makeup tutorial. So I've done a couple of these in the past, I'll link them in the description box for you below. This is for all the queens who want to go on stage, who want to do photos, who want to be bedroom queens, whatever you want to do. If you're doing drag, this is the perfect tutorial for you. If you haven't subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button and the thumbs up button down below. It really helps me out a lot. Thank you guys for watching another video, and let's go straight to the makeup. Right, so the first thing we've got to do is these brows. So I'm actually going to do a brow mini tutorial because everyone's asked for it and I need to kind of explain how drag queen brows work. So let's jump into those, don't mind my hair. So I shaved my brows off so I don't have to glue them down or anything. So I'm just gonna wipe off what brows I've got on, get rid of any product there. So for the brows you just need like a brow pomade. I'm using MAC Dip Down and a very tight angled brush. So I'm gonna do some fluffier brows. So first I'm gonna draw where my brows are gonna start and angle them straight up. This is just going to help lift the face a bit more and make it look a bit more dramatic. And then you do your top line, and I do it kind of a quarter of the way in, and then just meet up the outer corner like that. That took like 2 minutes. So once you've got your general shape, then we start drawing in some hairs. So I'm just going to go as thin as I can and draw in some hair strokes. Doesn't matter if you go a bit messy because you can always clean it up later. And that's basically what I do for my brows. I do a little tweaking later on, but mainly it's just drawing some hair strokes and cutting underneath the brow. So to cut underneath and prime this eye, I'm taking a bit of the P. Louise base in number 1. And I'm just taking it on this very flat brush. I'm just gonna pat right underneath the brow, and I'm just patting all over the lid, all under the brow, and I'm taking it all the way up here as well because we're gonna have eyeshadow all the way up there. I mean, we're going very dramatic. Now you can use concealer for this bit, you can use foundation, you can use any kind of cream product as long as it doesn't dry down completely matte. This is just going to help the shadows stick and pop a bit more. It's going to make even the bad eyeshadow palettes look good. So it's a must for drag makeup especially. So now we've done the eye priming, we're going to put on a lot of shadows. I'm thinking to do a very orange, warm toned, colourful eye. So I'm going to be taking the Carnival Free palette, which is brand new. Take whatever rainbow palette you have, and I'm going to be going into these colours here. So deep reds, mainly orange shades, that kind of vibe on the eyes. So the first shade is going to be a very deep burnt red kind of shade. I'm taking it on this very dense brush, a dense but kind of fluffy, and I'm building it up into my crease. So I always go with the darkest shade first and I put that into my crease, and I'm just gonna map out where I want my new crease to go. I always work darker to lighter with eyeshadows, just easier to blend them out. It's easier to add colours back into. It's just the easiest method to go with, and it won't get muddy or anything. So I start off right here into this crease. This is actually where my brow bone is, like my proper realistic brow bone. And I bring it into there, and then I'll curve it around like this. Kind of like a half circle shape. And at the edge, I'm gonna pack on some colours up here, aiming towards the edge of the brow. So I'm just plopping a lot of colour on here, just so I know where it's going to end up and where it's aiming to go. And then I just meet these two up with the same shadow and create that nice curving swoop motion. And to blend it out, I'm taking a very small but fluffy brush and I'm just brushing back and forth against the edge of this shadow. So this is a clean brush and it is small. The smaller the brush, the better, because you can really get in there and make sure every colour's tight, impactful and vibrant. You don't want to blend it too much either. You don't want it to go all over the show. You want there to be room for every colour to show up. And I'm not putting too much pressure on either. I'm not like going in. I'm literally just ever so slightly tickling the edge. Tickling, just a tickle. Now I'm going to go into another small fluffy brush. It's the same one I just blended with, but clean. And now I'm going into a very vibrant orange shade. This is like the main colour. So this is the second darkest shade. And I'm just placing it right where we blended. So right on top of that edge. So you might not see it at first, but if you keep putting the colour on, eventually it will show up. I'm very lightly just brushing it in place. I'm not going absolutely crazy with it. And I'm just going to blend that with another fluffy brush. This one's a little bit bigger because we're further out towards the brow. So the further you go up, the bigger the brush and the fluffier the brush, just because it blends a bit better that way. So now for the final colour, I'm going into, it's kind of like a mustard yellow, just a very warm toned light shade. So because it's orange, I'm putting some yellow on. And this is on quite a fluffier brush. And I'm just going on that edge again. Now, this might overtake the previous shade, but we can always add that shade back in, so don't worry about that. Just make sure you're keeping it along the line that you made earlier. You don't want it to go absolutely crazy and ruin all the work you've done. And you can even blend it into the brow, because, I mean, it's just a brow. Not that much eyeshadow is going to go up there anyway, so. And I like to take the last shade all the way out because it's drag makeup. So I like to blow it out all the way and just very loosely blend it up there. And because it's the last blend as well, you can take the exact same brush, just brush off whatever excess and then just blend it out with the same brush. Then what I always do, and what I recommend everyone to do, is to add back in those colours. So I'm going back in with that very bright orange, the middle shade, and I'm putting that right where it was. So I'm blending it a bit further as well, so I'm not doing it so tight and focused. I'm just kind of brushing it on, just kind of bringing that colour back. And you can blend it right up to the yellow because it's already got shadow there, so it's going to blend out anyway. And back into the final shade, the very burnt dark red, and just brush that back into the crease, just so it's still deep and it's still got that definition. So now we're going to cut the crease. So I'm going to do the Vaseline method that I've done a couple times on the channel. So I'm just taking some Vaseline out of the tub onto the back of my hand, and I'm just using a very flat brush, like the flattest brush you can find, and I'm just going to cut the crease like I normally would. So I'm just going to etch out with Vaseline where I'm going to cut my crease. Now if you're doing drag makeup as well, the crease is kind of like the main feature of the eye makeup. So you want to take it much higher than if you're doing normal makeup. In fact, this is basically where my brow bone is. That's how high I'm taking it. And for the edge, I'm just going to start cutting it all the way up here, just so I have some sort of guide to where I can put them together, or else you're going to get lost and you're going to end up cutting half of it off. I mean, I do that all the time. So once you've marked out with Vaseline, I'm just going to take a wipe. Use any wipe, I just use baby wipes from like Home Bargains or something, and just wrap it around your finger and then just wipe off whatever Vaseline you put on, and this will just cut the crease for you. This just saves any mistakes. It cuts it really nice as well, like it's super sharp. It's a super beginner friendly method to cutting the crease. So that's the basic eyeshadow done for that part. So now we're going to add some more base to the lid. So just take the same concealer eyeshadow base that you used before on another flat brush, or you can just use the same flat brush as before. I'm just going to pat that all across the lid, right up to where we cut the crease. So now you don't have to worry about actually cutting the crease with this. You can just fill in what you already cut. So now we're going to do some liner. So I'm going to do some very big dramatic drag queen liner. I'm just using a gel liner and a little angled brush. And I'm just going to start by angling the liner at the very edge. So where you'll see the wing, I'm just going to kind of stamp it. Don't worry if it goes messy or if it's not exactly straight. You can always clean it up. The important bit is the actual wing here. So I'm going to meet it up like this, just by stamping it on like normal, and then just meet it up. And then because it's so big and we're going so dramatic as well, and I've got hooded eyes, we're actually going to cover the entire lid in liner. So I'm going to just start in the inner corner and try and do it as small as possible, and then meet up with this line up here. So that's the kind of shape we're going for. So I'm just going to fill in the rest of the lid with this liner. And before that kind of like transfers everywhere, I'm going to take some black shadow on quite a loose fluffy flat brush and just lightly pat it on top. It's going to set it in place and help it not transfer absolutely everywhere. I know this is quite a dramatic liner look, but that's the look we're going for today. We're going for drama, we're going for extraness, we're going for full tilt drag queen glam. And just to clean up that wing at the end, just take whatever wipe you've got. This is why we do eyes first on this channel, because it gets a bit messy. So I'm gonna just get the wipe and just wipe off whatever I don't want. So there's the liner basically completed. So now let's get into the fun part. Let's get into the glitters and stuff, because that's what's really most important here. So for the glitters, I'm going to prime the crease first. You could just use what base is on there, but it's probably dry by now. So I'm going to take this little Sample Beauty glitter primer. You can get glitter primers from any brand. This is just what I've got. And I'm just going to put this into that crease and quite a fair bit in the inner corner. Kind of like glue, so it's kind of like lash glue. So most drag queens probably use lash glue anyway, so whatever you want to do, you can do. And I'm gonna take a little glitter pigment. It's by Peaches and Cream. It's called Hollywood. I'm just taking it on a flat brush and I'm just gonna put it into the crease bit. You can use whatever glitter, pigment, whatever you like. It's completely your choice. Actually taking a smaller brush, I didn't realise how small this crease was. I prefer using pigments to like proper glitters because they're a bit softer. They're not as gritty on the eyes or anything. And they're also much easier to clean up if you get them everywhere. And if you get glitter on the liner, don't worry about it. Just get your black flat brush and just kind of brush it off. And it should just end up disappearing. And I'm just taking another pigment. This is called Prin by Peaches as well. And it's just, it's almost like a pure white, silvery, glittery pigment. And I'm just putting that in the inner corner and kind of brushing it into the crease a tad. Just because I want this bit to shine a bit more. And you can just take a tiny bit of pigment like that. I'm going to use the Hollywood one and just put it on the brow bone. You don't have to do this if you don't want. Some people like a matte brow bone, but I like a bit of a shimmer. And I even put a tiny bit up here. I just like how it looks in photos. It looks like just a bit more glittery, a bit more glamorous, that's all. So that's basically it for the eye part. Obviously there's under eyes to do and stuff, but that's nothing much. So I'm going to do the other eye off camera and then come back to the skin. So now I finished this eye off camera. It's a little, this one's actually better. This eye's always better than that eye, I'm sorry, it just always is. So now we're going to start on the skin. I'm going to first prime with e.l.f. Poreless Putty. And I'm just using quite a damp beauty sponge. I think it's from like W7 or something. And just pat this into the skin. You can choose whatever primer works for your skin. I choose a pore filling one because I have a lot of pores. I have a man's skin, so I've got big pores to fill. And this is like, I don't know, six or eight quid. We are going quite heavy with the skin today. Very heavy, in fact, because we're doing drag makeup. So I'm putting quite a lot of primer on, all down the neck. Helps cover up any beard hairs, any patchy tan that I've got. We're not talking about that. And for foundation, I'm going in with MAC Studio Fix Fluid. I'm going in with this because it's got the most shades and it's probably one of the most popular foundations you can get. It's also full coverage. It is a liquid foundation and it does dry down kind of matte-ish. I don't know if this is actually gonna... Yeah, that'll be fine. So I'm just taking this on quite a dense brush and I'm just patting it into the skin. I prefer liquids to, you know, your typical cream sticks. I've mentioned this before. I'm not really a cream stick kind of person. There's a time and place for them. I like the Makeup Forever one, I like the Juvia's Place one, but I do not like that Kryolan stick. Oh my god. I much prefer a liquid that, even if it dries down matte, it's just easier to blend, it's easier to use, and I just like the finish better. And I think it lasts longer as well. This brush as well, I think it's on my mic. It's like an Amazon pack, like 8 quid for 30 brushes. So you don't need expensive brushes for this either. So there's the foundation all blended in. I really actually like the MAC Studio Fix. I know it's an older foundation. It's not really making any leaps and bounds in the trends area at the moment. I sounded well posh saying that. But I really do like this. Any foundation that goes on as a liquid and dries down kind of matte is really good for drag. It's kind of got to be full coverage. Obviously I've covered up my entire face and neck in this. And let's get onto some concealer. So for concealer, I go in with a liquid as well. I don't really go in with a stick anymore. I'm gonna go in with Too Faced Born This Way and just dab it like that. So I'm gonna go in with another concealer afterwards for more brightness. And I'm putting this in all the highlight areas, so anywhere that you want to shine out, anywhere you want to be brighter than the foundation. Typically it's forehead, under eyes, nose, top of the lip and the chin. And I'm going to take a sponge for this. This is a damp sponge. And just pat it into the skin. You also want your concealer to be full coverage as well. I mean, everything you want to be full coverage. But especially concealer, because this is your highlight shade. This needs to be super bright, super impactful, super contrasting. I prefer a bright highlight to a deep contour, if that makes sense. I much prefer doing white highlight and then like a bronzy contour rather than like okay highlight and then a really deep contour. That just looks a bit too drag queen, if you know what I mean. And now just to brighten, I'm taking this Juvia's Place concealer. It's another full coverage one. This is just quite a bit brighter. And I'm just putting this on the very center of the highlights, just as kind of a gradient. So it's not too flat, if you know what I mean. Just blending out of the same sponge. I'm just pressing it in. See how much difference that makes, how bright it is. It's still in the skin tone kind of gradient, if you know what I mean. It's still in that family of skin tones, but it's still super bright. Try and go for the brightest shade of concealer without, you know, being stark white. Well, you can do stark white if you want. And for cream contour, I'm going in with a, well, cream concealer. This is a Kevyn Aucoin Skin Enhancer one. It's in number 15. I'm just taking quite an angled brush. And this is a very highly pigmented cream, so I'm just going to draw a little bit like that. And I contour the forehead. And I contour the jaw as well. And I'm taking quite an angled brush, but it's dense and a bit fluffier. I'm just gonna slowly pat that into the skin because it's very pigmented. You can use whatever concealer you want, whatever contour palette you want, but it's still the same technique. So I'm just buffing it in, just like we did with the foundation. And you can even rub the excess product off in your hand because there will be a lot of excess. And you're just doing it like a sponge really, just kind of pushing it in. You can use a sponge if you want. That is a very harsh contour. So I'm going to take a sponge, this is a clean one, and just lightly dab over. Just pushing it in slightly. And for the jaw, I tend to blend it a little bit up. The tiniest bit, but then I'll blend most of it down, so I'll just drag it all the way down. So it casts like a bit more of a shadow. So it makes it look like I've got a jaw and not 5 necks. So now we've done the creams and liquids, it's time to do powders. So I'm just taking some RCMA translucent, and I'm just going to take a fluffy brush with quite a bit on and just start patting it onto the under eyes first, because they're the first things that crease, and then onto the forehead because I've got a lot of fine lines there, and then just pat this powder absolutely everywhere. Now, if you're going on stage, you can pack on a lot more powder. In fact, I encourage to pack on a lot more powder, and maybe a thicker powder like Airspun or something. But if you're just like going out or something like that, or I don't know what you're doing, but if you're not performing and, you know, sweating, then this powder will do just fine. And I always pat on with a brush. You can use a powder puff. In fact, that locks in the powder better. But I just think it looks better when you use a brush. Don't look as caked on. And then with the same brush, just dust off any excess that's sitting around. You can even pat it in, so then the powder kind of sinks into the makeup. But just brush away any excess that won't go in really. And what I do straight after that is I always put setting spray on. That just helps the powder sink into whatever you've done before. So I'm doing some aloe vera skincare spray, whatever spray you can buy. You can use water if you want. And that just helps the powder kind of sink into whatever you've got underneath. So it's not like sitting there on top, it's kind of merging together, which is what you want. Right, now is a key part in what I think is the best makeup outcomes. Like, this just changes everything. I do it in every tutorial. This is setting the makeup further with foundation powders. So this is a BH Cosmetics Studio powder thing. It's just a dupe for the MAC Studio Fix. And I just take it on a very fluffy, dense brush and pat it everywhere except where I've highlighted. So this just adds the colour back. It adds kind of like another layer of foundation almost, but it's not as thick. And it's just that extra security. It's also a powder, so it helps it last longer. It's just like an ultimate weapon really. And I'm going to go in with a highlight shade. This is another foundation powder. This really is a secret weapon. Just brushing that along. Oh, it just boosts the highlights even further. So I do this instead of baking because I haven't got dry skin. Like, I'm pretty oily today actually, but baking gives me dry skin. So I'd much rather just brush this on. I'm not patting it, I'm just dusting it on. And it just boosts the highlights and just brings out that highlight that you want. These are the MAC Studio Fix ones. You can get the BH Cosmetics ones, or, well, they're the only two brands I've found that actually work. I think the Maybelline Fit Me ones work. You could try them. But this is just an ultimate secret weapon. I mean, it's extra powder as well, so it stops things creasing, it stops things melting a bit more. So for the contour areas that we've done, I do take another foundation powder. This one's from Cover FX, I just found it cheap somewhere. And I'm just gonna pat it on with a very fluffy brush and lightly just pat over those contour areas. Just helps blur them, just in case you've blended it a bit weird like I have. And for bronzer, I'm just gonna go in with this little Morphe palette. I'm just gonna go in with whatever bronzer shades I've got. They're not really too deep, they're more warm toned as well. It's just to push whatever we've done earlier, just to amp it up a bit. So now we've done the contouring and all the foundation powders, now we can do finishing touches. So I'm gonna get these blushes. Ooh, I'm going to take this blush, this is just from Revolution, and a big blush brush, and take whatever you like. I mean, I'm going to take basically all of them. And I do like a peachy warm blush instead of pink. I mean, this is a bit pink, but it's on the peachy side. And I put it right up here. I don't put it on the apples because it kind of makes your face look a bit more rounded. If you put it on, if you've got round cheeks, it looks amazing on the apples, but I've got a very square head, so I need to put it all the way up here. It also makes it look a bit more like face lifted up, kind of. And I do put it on the forehead. I like to put it in between the highlight and the contour because I just think it just looks nice. Helps it blend and just looks pretty. A little bit on the nose. And I always put some on the chin as well, just to give some warmth, so there's some balance everywhere. And for highlighter, I'm going to take this little MAC Hyper Real Glow palette, and I'm just going to take this gold shade right here. I want kind of like a gold sparkly highlighter to go with this warm toned look. I'm just going to take an eyeshadow brush and just put it on the highest point there. So just build it up so it's as bright as I want it to be. I mean, that's pretty bright, that. And then I start blending it out with the same brush. Do some on the nose, upper lip, and the chin and forehead as well. And just to top that highlight off, I'm going to use Get Wet by Be Perfect. This is more glittery wet look highlighter, and this is more shiny. So I'm just going to take this highlighter on a fluffier brush. I'm just going to top this one with the Get Wet one. Just pushes it a bit further, makes it a bit more glittery. This helps blend it out as well. So now we need to finish off the eyes. We've done the face, and now we need to do the eye part. We need to finish off underneath. For drag, I do it a little bit different than normal eyeshadow looks. I'm going to take a very tight brush, and I'm going to take the deepest red shade that we used earlier. They're the same shades on top as underneath, and I'm just going to map out kind of like a new waterline almost. I'm kind of drawing a straight line along the curve, so it leaves a space open on the inner corner, and it leaves a tiny space here. I can join them together, depends how I feel later, but for now I just want as much eyeshadow as possible without going over the top. Then I'm going to take a fluffier brush, still quite small. I'm going to take the orange shade and just lightly blend that out. Really, I'm putting the orange on top of the red, just so I don't go too much, too everywhere. And then taking a fluffier brush and some of the yellow, I'm just going to pile that on top of the orange and really blend that out. So now I'm going to add some black onto the waterline. I'm just taking this very straight and flat brush into whatever black eyeshadow you have. And I'm just going to add a pinch of it onto the outer corner waterline just here. Not too much, just enough to give some definition. And then blend it out with the small red brush. And then I'm just going to take some shimmer shade. I've just got a vanilla shimmer in this palette, and just put that right there in the inner corner. Now you can do the cat eye liner if you have the space for it, but I like doing a bit of highlighting instead, because it kind of makes this pop, and the dark there makes this more angled. It just suits my eye shape a bit better, really. And then blend that in with some of the orange, because it will attach to your eye bags, or it attaches to mine. And I'm just gonna put some black eyeliner pencil into the waterline, nothing fancy. I just got this from, well, Rimmel. Any black liner pencil will do. It just helps deepen up the eyes a bit, and it makes it a bit more smoky. It kind of shrinks the eyes a bit. I mean, you could put nude in to make it a bit bigger, like make your eyes bigger, but I have big eyes anyway, so I just make them a bit smaller, a bit more feminine. For mascara, I'm just going to use whatever mascara you find. I'm using an Essence one. Whatever mascara suits you. and just coat your lashes in quite a thick layer of this. So for lips, for drag queens, we typically overdraw the lips. So I'm going to overdraw it with a very deep lip liner. This is from Peaches and Cream. So I'm just going to overdraw them so they look kind of huge. Now I don't overdraw too much on the bottom lip because I've got quite a heavy overhang of the bottom lip, so if I overdraw however big, it won't show up. So I put more effort into the top. So I'm just gonna put like a little line there and then go from this point all the way to the corner of my lip. And for the lipstick, now for drag, I typically go matte or matte-ish because when you're dancing, performing, talking, gloss can make everything stick. So I'm going to use a liquid suede because it's my favourite formula. It's by NYX. And I'm just using a very peachy nude colour. So it's not too nude, it's got some colour to it, but it matches the eyes perfectly. And what I do with lips as well, because I've got lips that kind of go a bit droopy on the corners, I just get whatever flat brush I used my base on and just cut in that corner. I mean, you see drag queens making like white lines there all the time. So I just do that, but I actually cut some of the lip off. Then I'll go back into the lip liner and just kind of shade in the edges so they're blended in more. And just top it off. I am going to use a gloss. I'm not performing. I'm not performing anytime soon, so I'm going to put a gloss on just for the look. And I'm just a Be Perfect double glazed one, just a nude gloss. And that just kind of helps the lipstick blend with the liner a little better. A little bit. Now it's time for eyelashes, which is like the best final touch. It really ties the look in, especially for drag makeup. So I'm going to use Doll Beauty lashes, and I think they're in Alexandra. And there's another shade involved, like Esmeralda or something. I've stacked them both. And I don't use Weave Bond anymore. If you come from my older tutorials, if you're a loyal subscriber, I used to use Weave Bond back in the day, but oh my god, it would cause some right problems. So I'm just using any glue that works for you. You can use Weave Bond if you want. I'm using Doll Beauty Lash Glue because it works. And for lashes, normally I just put them on. I just look straight into the mirror, grab the lash, and I normally just curve it upwards and then just fit them on like that. That's basically what I do, and then I'll just press them in, make sure they're stuck. They will come off because it's fresh glue, but now we've kind of imprinted the glue there, they should be fine. And I do it this way, I do it like just shove it on whilst my eyes are open, because that's what I'm going to look like. That's what I'm going to look like in the camera, it's what I'm going to look like on stage, and that's where the lashes are going to be. And it's just the best way to put lashes on, especially when they're this big. Plus you've got all that liner, so it doesn't really matter where you put them, as long as you put them on your eye. Well, some people don't. So same again, just literally, I mean, I can't really see through this eye. Just put, I think these are two different styles of lashes, to be honest. I always ended up wearing two different styles of lashes on each eye because I never put them back in the box. And this eye always looks better with a lash. This eye's not as droopy as this one. This one's a bit droopy, that's why I always do looks and videos on this one first, because I can whip this one out in a second. So that is kind of it for the makeup. That is it for the glam side of things. So I'm gonna go and put some lovely jewels, an outfit, and a nice wig. And I will be back for the final reveal. So everyone, this is a finished look. This is the completed drag queen for beginners makeup. Now, I do say for beginners, this is like my normal drag look. I do this on clients, I do this on me. It's like the typical, it's dramatic enough for drag queens, but it's still in the realm of not too much. Not too much, but it's a lot. This is perfect for stage. It's perfect because of the eyes and how deep they are, with the pop of glitter and the very vibrant colour, the shape of the brows, the contour, the lips. It all works really well on stage and photos. The makeup also lasts forever. I've done it so the makeup will last all night, in nightclubs, outside, wherever. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial. It's nice to actually do proper drag looks again. As I said before, there is plenty of easy drag queen beginner tutorials on my channel. They'll all be in the description box below for you to watch. This is just a more very updated version. It's modern. So a few new techniques in there. I've gotten a little bit better, just a little bit better. So thank you for watching another one of my tutorials, and I hope to see you all on the next one. But before you leave, please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and don't be afraid to give my video a thumbs up and a comment down below. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye guys.